So in this segment, we will talk about how to connect a temperature and humidity sensor to the gateway that we have previously connected, which I showed in the previous videos. The particular temperature and humidity sensor we're using here is called Dragino LHT65. And the sensor basically come with the sensor itself, but also a transmitting unit. And you basically plug it in by through this connection that you can plug into the sensor, the communication unit here. So this is pretty much how you can connect to it. And what we can do is we are going to first configure the Things network so that on the network in the cloud, it will be able to receive data from this device and also recognize that it is this device and it need to record temperature and humidity from this sensor. So let's get right into that. So if we go to the Things network, in this case, again, I'm demonstrating using the LiminalTech Things stack. The first step we need to do is we go to the applications, and it will show you a list of different applications you have already established. So an application is basically a placeholder or a project name that you can use, and you can add an application by going to click application, like what I did just now, and then you can name application ID to properly identify this application or project, if you will. Then you can create the application. And within each application, if we go back to here, so within each of these application that was created, you can put in as many as devices as you want to create a cluster of sensors, if you will, and those that cluster can be nested underneath any of these application names. So in our particular case, I have already created this. It's called Dragino LHT65. And when you click, after you produced this application, you click in, you'll be able to see that the detailed information about what is involved inside of this application. And every sensor that sends data up into the cloud to the Things network here is called an end device. So as you can see here, it's called an end device. Every end device comes with its own unique ID and communication password, if you will. And these are essentially, you can locate them with the sensor itself. And let me just show you an example of that using the camera here. So I'm going to just manually cover the communication device IDs, but here is basically what a ID looks like, or at least the tag of the ID. Um, this is essentially how you can identify this device in the Things Cloud. So three key things from the ID tag. It's the device EUI, app EUI, and app key. These are the three different values that you want to use for the Think stack when you configure it, as I will demonstrate to you right now. So if you want to add a sensor, you can click on this Add End Device. And it's fairly intuitive, I would say. So you can just click through. In our case, it's called Dragino. And then the model is LHT65. Everything else is pretty much pre-filled. Don't need to worry about it, except this profile, since we're in the US right now. So we're going to select the US option. And a picture of the sensor will come up for verification. And the other configurations that you wanted to do is the frequency plan. And in this case, we're going to select this frequency, the second one that is used by the Things network. The app EUI, device EUI, and app key is what I mentioned on the tag itself. You can use any type of tax extractions software to extract the numbers from the ID tags. In my case, I use on iPhone, there's an app called Tax Extract. And obviously, you can use any uh, tax extraction software or apps that you choose to. But one thing I want to mention is after you extract the tax and paste these values into the Things network configurations, always double check the numbers before you hit confirm. So after, um, say you copy and pasted all the numbers, you'll be able to, let's just put a bunch of random numbers on here. Uh, so this is always double check these values against the sensor ID tag, like what information is on here versus what's on the screen. And always keep these numbers to yourself, because if someone else get to these codes, they can also communicate to the sensor as well. So these numbers are, as I mentioned before, kind of like a password to the sensor communication. And that's why I'm not showing the sensor I'm looking at right now here. But eventually, after you configure everything, you can click register and device, and then you'll be able to see a new sensor that comes up on the list down here. So that basically sets up what the communication looks like. And in this case, we have the sensor serial number listed as our IDs, which is a convenient feature for us to keep track. But obviously, you can name it as whatever as you need to. So here we have the 184. This is after you have set up everything. So setting up this sensor, You can click on this sensor and see the live data stream coming into uh, the data. And here you can see there is a live data section. So this is very useful for troubleshooting if you want to see if the data is coming in or not. So let's see if we can click on that live data. So right now, obviously, nothing is being showed, and because the sensor is not communicating, um, for this particular sensor, LHT65, you can look up the manual for this, and it's fairly simple. I will just want to show you real quick. We have the Dragino LHT65. If we search that, we go to the Dragino website, and we go down to the documents. You'll be able to see user manual and data sheet. And what we want is the user manual, which is this data, not the data sheet, excuse me. We want the user manual and the latest manual possible. So in the manual, obviously, you can read more about it, as I won't be able to dig into details about this, but it's very helpful for troubleshooting. And I just want to point out one critical thing on here is the ways that you can activate this sensor. So right out of the factory, this sensor is not activated. And what we want to do is we would want to activate this sensor. But since I've already configured this sensor before, I've kind of told the sensor to go into deep sleep, so it's not sending any data right now. But essentially, how you can see the data is properly connecting is by using this test uplink status. And what I'm going to do is I am going to follow exactly like this. Press the act button between 1 second and 3 seconds. Let me just show you where the act. So the act button is located right underneath in the bottom where you plug in the sensor, and the act button is right next to the plug next to it. And after you click on it between 1 and 3 seconds, as it mentioned, a blue LED light will blink once. So I'm just waiting for the blue light to blink here. Okay, so we got the blue light. If we go back to the thing stack here, now we can properly see that the data has been properly transmitted to us, and we can see the various battery voltage levels and also temperature and humidity values coming off from this particular sensor. And that is, again, as I mentioned, just click on live data. You'll be able to see the data has been submitted to us into the things stack cloud server. And this is very useful for troubleshooting as well later on. Okay, so after the data were successfully transmitted into the think stack, we would need a way to store the data from the think stack to a database, if you will, for us to visualize. And this can be done in multiple ways. And it's absolutely not restricted to just this one way that I'm showing you. There are different applications that you can connect the ThinkStack to store data and visualize them. This is under integrations. And the specific feature is called webhooks. So if we click on webhooks, and if we want to add a webhook, here are all the different options that you can use to store data that is coming off of ThinkStack and also the sensor, obviously. And in our use case, which is what we are demonstrating here, is called UBDOTS. But obviously, you can use all of these other options as well to demonstrate data and to store. So what we want to use here is we can add a webhook. And in our case, we are demonstrating the UBDOTS. We are actually going to not click on UBDOTS. We're actually going to use the custom webhook in this case. And we can basically name our webhook to whatever name you want. Then we will select JSON. And then in the base URL, what we're going to use is we're going to use something like this, parse.ubots.com. And then the other extra piece of here is the uplink message. And we can enable that. And this information is actually inside UBDOTS. And if you have an admin account to the UBDOTS, you can go to devices, and under devices there is a function. You can click on that and a link will appear, and this is where you are gonna paste the information into here. And this is kind of a more complicated way to do it. There is another easier way you can do, which is let me go back. You can click on UBDOTS, and then you can just use your username, and there is a UBDOTS function name. This is also inside the UBDOTS. And since I don't have a UBDOTS admin account, I will not be able to show you this information here. But this is essentially how you can create a new webhook. So after you add the webhook, this will show, so the new webhook will show up in the list, and then you will be able to kind of upload all the data that is transmitted through the Things network into your UBDOTS data. So what that looks like is here I have logged into the liminal tag as a user account, so not the admin account as I mentioned before. And under devices, it will automatically tell me that the data from what I set up with the serial number ending 184, which is this device right here, it has transmitted 6 minutes ago. So if we click on this, we can see the live data stream that is coming in from the sensor. And let's click on temperature. And this is all the different data that were transmitted, including the ones I first set up to later on when I was trying these at home. And now it's transmitting through the Things network, and now all stored in Ubilots for further processing. This is pretty much the setting up the entire process from the sensor communicating to the Things network through the gateway device, and how the data can be stored on Ubidots for visualization and archiving purposes. I will spend the time for the next videos to talk about more sensors. So this is just one. Obviously, it's very easy to use plug and play type of sensor. There are more complicated sensors such as this one, which is I will show you in the next video. It is essentially a long range sensor. It has a much larger antenna on top of it, and I will get more into how to connect these type of sensors, including connecting inside here as well. So hope you find this video helpful, and hope to see you in the next segment. Thank you.